This weekend's episode of 90 Day Fiance, Happily Ever After, took its name from Mike and Natalie's storyline. Trish called Natalie a snake in the grass and told Mike to divorce Natalie, and she didn't mince words about it. We all know that this went down many months ago, and news of their separation leaked earlier this year. So, how is their divorce coming along? The answer may come as a bit of a shock, actually. Mike Youngquist and Natalie Mordovtseva's marriage has been in trouble for a long time. Honestly, their relationship was in very bad shape, well, before they married. Calling off their first wedding attempt just hours before the nuptials was not exactly a good sign. One major sticking point for the two of them was Natalie's allegation that Mike's mom, Trish, called her a raid hooker. The derogatory term for a sex worker is clearly an insult, but if Trish called Natalie that, viewers haven't seen or heard it. Natalie felt insulted, but arguably the bigger problem was that Mike, her husband, didn't believe her. Trish categorically denied calling Natalie anything of the sort. But this conversation led to a fourth wall-breaking explosion between the spouses. Mike, fed up, stood up and had a meltdown about Natalie's behavior. This was when he revealed that Natalie had been staying at her friend Juliana's house for weeks. After apparently giving away her Christmas presents to Juliana's family, she stayed there. Mike, emotional after this revelation, said polite goodbyes to production and stormed out. On this week's episode, Mike attempted to call Natalie to see if they could work things out. Apparently, this was the next day. Mike got no answer and instead called his mother. Trish was quick to tell Mike exactly what she thought. "She doesn't even like you," Trish accused. She theorized that Natalie has these fights on purpose to give her an excuse to leave. Trish then added, "She's a snake in the grass," giving the episode its colorful title. "I say divorce her ass," Trish suggested. Her theory was that Natalie used Mike to come to the United States. Mike pushed back against his mother's words, but only a little. Mike disagreed with his mom on some of that. Mostly, he still wanted to try to make it work with Natalie. Meanwhile, at Juliana's house, Natalie was feeling very differently. As Natalie explained to her eyebrow-raisingly touchy-feely friend, she was fed up. Emotionally exhausted with her toxic marriage, she felt that she had had enough. She went to Squint to pack up the rest of her things and make her move out permanent. The timeline of all of this fits with what we had heard in much earlier reports. Natalie had left Mike's to stay with Juliana starting around Christmas in 2020. Weeks later, in mid-January, she returned for the rest of her things. The separation was very real. So what about the surely inevitable divorce? However, In Touch Weekly reports that neither Mike nor Natalie have actually filed for divorce. The marriage seems to be over in all meaningful ways except the paperwork, none of which has been filed. Relatedly, we have to point to a recent unconfirmed, but conceptually credible rumor. According to some alleged DMs, there is footage of Trish calling Natalie a hooker, in a context where it kind of makes sense. If this is true, we will probably see this at the Tell All special that will air very soon. Will that change anything?